Let me ask you a question. A question that has haunted humanity ever since we first looked up at the stars and whispered, "Why am I here?" Where were you before your first memory? Before breath filled your lungs? Before your eyes opened to this world of light and shadow? Where did your soul dwell? I am Carl Jung. For over half a century, I have wandered the silent corridors of the human psyche, descending into dreams, myths, and the unfathomable depths of what I call the collective unconscious. And in that journey, through the symbols, the archetypes, the sacred patterns that repeat across cultures and centuries, I discovered something astonishing. Something the Bible has declared for millennia, and modern psychology is only now beginning to glimpse. Your soul did not begin at birth. Your existence is far older, far deeper, than your body or your biography. The Apostle Paul writes in Ephesians 1 verse 4, "He chose us in Him before the foundation of the world." Pause. Before the foundation of the world. Not after your parents met. Not at conception. Not when the first cell divided in your mother's womb. Before time itself began. Before galaxies spun into being. Before stars ignited in the cosmic dark. You were already known. Already chosen. Already held in the mind of the divine. Now, let me speak as a psychologist, not a theologian. When I say soul, I do not mean a tiny ghost waiting in some celestial anteroom, tapping its foot until it's your turn to be born. That is a child's fantasy, a literalization of a mystery far too vast for such imagery. What I do mean is this: the core of your being, the self, with a capital S, existed as an eternal potentiality. In my work, I found that every human being carries within them a primordial image, an archetypal blueprint of wholeness. This is not learned. It is not inherited from parents or culture. It is innate, encoded in the collective unconscious, that deep layer of psyche we all share, regardless of race, era, or creed. The psalmist sensed this truth when he cried in Psalm 139, "You formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them." From a psychological standpoint, this is profound. It means your individuation, that lifelong process of becoming who you truly are, did not start at birth. It began in eternity. The self, the divine center of your psyche, was already whole. You were, in essence, a cosmic seed, a unique configuration of the One, waiting for the right conditions to sprout in time and space. I have sat with thousands of patients, and again, I witnessed something that defies materialist explanation. Children who drew perfect mandalas without ever seeing one. Adults who dreamed symbols from ancient Egyptian or Tibetan traditions they'd never studied. Souls who, in deep meditation or active imagination, spoke of remembering a luminous state before birth, a state of unity, peace, and knowing. This is not coincidence. This is evidence that the human psyche is rooted in something eternal. Now, let us turn to a deeper layer. The Bible speaks not just of soul, but of spirit. In Zechariah 12 verse 1, we read, "The Lord forms the spirit of man within him." The Hebrew word here is ruach, wind, breath, spirit. The same word used in Genesis 2 verse 7, when God breathed into Adam's nostrils the breath of life. This is no poetic flourish. It is a precise description of a psycho-spiritual event. In my clinical practice in Zurich, I developed a method I called active imagination, a way to dialogue with the unconscious. And in those depths, beyond personal memories, beyond childhood trauma, my patients encountered a presence, not an external God, out there, but an inner reality, more real than their waking selves. Some called it the self, others God. Others simply said, "It knew me better than I knew myself." This presence was paradoxical. It was utterly intimate, the deepest core of their being. And yet it transcended them completely. This is the mystery the Bible points to. Your soul is not separate from God. It is a spark of the divine, individualized. The early church fathers, Origen, Gregory of Nyssa, wrestled with this. Some even proposed the pre-existence of souls. The church later rejected that doctrine, but not because it was entirely false. It was rejected because it was too literal. The truth is subtler. Before conception, you existed not as a conscious individual, but as a divine idea, a pattern in the mind of God, an archetype in the collective unconscious, a note in the symphony of the anima mundi, the soul of the world. Think of an acorn. The mighty oak is not inside it, tiny and curled. But the blueprint of the oak is there, fully present, perfectly encoded. So it is with you. Your destiny, your gifts, your wounds, your sacred task, were all inscribed in your soul before your first breath. Jeremiah 1 verse 5 declares, "Before I formed you in the womb I knew you, and before you were born I consecrated you." Notice the Hebrew word for knew, yada. This is not intellectual knowledge. It is intimate, relational, embodied knowing, the same word used for the union of husband and wife. God did not merely think about Jeremiah. God knew him in his totality, his shadow, his light, his calling, his failures, his triumphs, all of it before a single day of his earthly life had passed. How is this possible? Only if eternity is not endless time, but a dimension beyond time altogether. In eternity, past, present, and future are one. Your birth, your death, your struggles, your joys, all exist simultaneously in the mind of God. This is not mysticism. It is psychology. It is the structure of the self, atemporal, whole, complete. And this truth has practical consequences. If your soul was known and chosen before the world began, then your life is not an accident. You are not the random product of colliding atoms. You are the intentional expression of a cosmic purpose. I have met brilliant, successful people, filled with wealth, admiration, accolades, yet hollow inside. Why? Because they forgot this truth. They believed they were self-made, self-invented, but the soul knows. And when disconnected from its eternal origin, it withers. Yet when you remember, truly remember, that you were called into being by a love that precedes time, something shifts. You stop living for external validation. You begin living from your center, the self. You align with the pattern you were born to fulfill. But when exactly did your soul enter your body? The Bible points to conception. Psalm 139 calls the womb the depths of the earth, a hidden, sacred space where God weaves body and soul together. From a Jungian view, this is the moment the archetype incarnates. The eternal pattern meets biological life. Like white light passing through a prism, suddenly, a spectrum of color bursts forth. At conception, your unique soul, carrying the full inheritance of the collective unconscious, all archetypes, all ancestral wisdom, began its journey in time. And during those 9 months in the womb, your soul was not idle. Modern science says consciousness arises from the brain. But I tell you, the brain is the instrument of consciousness, not its source. Luke 1 verse 41 reveals something startling. When Mary, pregnant with Jesus, greeted Elizabeth, the baby leaped in her womb. Elizabeth said, "As soon as the sound of your greeting reached my ears, the baby in my womb leaped for joy." Joy, a response, a recognition. This was not reflex. This was soul meeting soul. In the womb, you existed in a dreamlike state, immersed in the unconscious, shaped by your mother's emotions, her heartbeat, her fears, her love. This is the first phase of individuation, containment within the alchemical vessel of the womb. Then birth. Ah, birth! The first great trauma, and the first great initiation. For 9 months, you dwelled in a watery paradise, warm, dark, nourished, undivided. Then, violently expelled into light, cold, separation, sound. This is the primal death and rebirth. The fall from unconscious unity into conscious individuality. It is necessary. Without this rupture, you could never become yourself. And this pattern repeats throughout life. Childhood, separating from the mother. Adolescence, breaking from family. Midlife, shedding false identities. Death, returning to the source. So where was your soul before you were born? Let me offer you a synthesis. Before time, you existed as pure potential in the mind of God, as an archetype in the collective unconscious, as part of the undifferentiated one. You were not you, yet, because there was no separation. You were simply one with the all. At conception, God breathed your unique spirit into your emerging body. The eternal pattern began unfolding in time. In the womb, your soul incubated, absorbing the first whispers of this world through your mother's being. At birth, you were initiated into the drama of individuation, the long journey of becoming conscious, so you could one day return to the one, not in unconscious unity, but in conscious love. This is the purpose of your life. And why this life? Why now? Why here? Acts 17 verses 26 to 27 reveals. He determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place, that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward Him and find Him. You were not born randomly in the 21st century. You were born here now with these parents, this body, these wounds, because they are the precise conditions your soul needed to fulfill its destiny. Your trauma is not meaningless. Your gifts are not accidental. Even your era, this age of fragmentation, of science divorced from spirit, of ego inflated and soul forgotten, is your sacred battlefield. Your task? To reintegrate what has been torn apart, to heal the split between reason and intuition, between matter and spirit, between ego and self. And in doing so, you do not serve only yourself. You serve humanity. For every soul that completes its individuation elevates the collective unconscious. You become a living bridge between heaven and earth, time and eternity, human and divine. Now, some will hear this and cry, "But what of free will? If God chose me before time, am I not predestined?" Ah, here is the paradox. Predestination is not fate. It is orientation. Think again of the acorn. It is predestined to become an oak, not a pine, not a rose. Yet within that destiny, infinite variations unfold. Will it grow tall or stunted, strong or twisted? That depends on soil, storm, sun, and the choices of the tree itself. So it is with you. Your essence is fixed. Your expression is free. God set the pattern. You choose how to live it. This resolves the ancient tension between grace and freedom. From eternity's view, your life is whole. From time's view, you created moment by moment. And what of sin? If your soul came from God, pure and known, how can you be born in sin? The doctrine of original sin is not about moral guilt. It is about ontological separation. To become an individual, you must fall from unity. This fall is not punishment, it is the cost of consciousness. Adam and Eve in Eden? That is your story. The moment you said, "I," for the first time, you separated from the all. You gained self-awareness and lost innocence. This is the human condition, and it is why we need redemption. But Christianity offers something unique. God does not wait for us to climb back to Him. He descends into our separation. Christ is the incarnate self, the perfect union of human and divine. The cross is the symbol of that union, Vertical eternity meets horizontal time. When Jesus said, "I and the Father are one," he pointed to the truth buried in every human heart. At the core of your being, you and God are not two. This is not pantheism. It is theological psychology. You were made imago Dei, in the image of God. Not just in body, but in soul. Your deepest self is the dwelling place of the divine. And so, the path is clear. Live your individuation consciously. Confront your shadow. Integrate your unconscious. Say yes to your calling. For as Ephesians 2 verse 10 declares, we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Those works were prepared before you were born, but you must choose to walk them. So when doubt whispers, "Does my life matter?" remember this. Your soul was known, loved, and chosen before the stars were lit. You were sent here now because only you, with your unique blend of wound and gift, can sing the song the world needs to hear. There is a light only you can shine, a love only you can give, a piece of the cosmic puzzle only you can place. But you must choose. Choose awareness over sleep. Choose courage over comfort. Choose the long, sacred work of becoming who you truly are. And if you do, you will begin to see it. The synchronicities, the dreams, the quiet guidance. Because when you align with your eternal self, the universe conspires to bring you home, not to the unconscious unity of the womb, but to the conscious union of the soul with its source. That is your origin. That is your destiny. That is where your soul was, and where it is leading you back.